So is God in the Old Testament violent and vindictive and unjust, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful? Well, some people seem to think so, and some people even reject the whole idea of God based upon that. Well, that's not the point of the violence of the Old Testament, and that's not the way that people in the Old Testament even viewed God. And so I can show you they didn't. Turn over to Jonah 4 with me, and I'm going to share with you a passage from there. If you know anything about the story of Jonah, you know he's a man swallowed by a fish for 3 days. But why? Well, Jonah was a messenger of God. He was a prophet, and Jonah had been sent to Nineveh. Nineveh was the capital city of Assyria, and the Assyrian people were a terrible, wicked people. They were just a very sinful people. And they were not God's chosen people. The promise belonged to Abraham and his descendants and not to them. In fact, they were the greatest threat and the greatest enemy of the Jews during that period of time. And so when God calls Jonah to go to Nineveh, he jumps on a ship and he goes the opposite direction towards Tarshish. And so God sends this great storm when they're out in the middle of the sea. And long story short, the people on board find out Jonah's been rebelling against his God, so they throw him overboard to try to appease him. As he's about to drown, God delivers him by sending this great fish to swallow him up. It's from the belly of the fish that Jonah finally turns to God and he begs for mercy. And the fish spits him out and he finally goes to Nineveh and he preaches this message, yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown. But here's the basis of the whole story. Why did Jonah run the opposite direction? Well, Jonah tells us why he runs in Jonah 4 verses 1 through 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he became angry. And so he prayed to the Lord, and he said, "Oh, Lord, was not this what I said when I was still in my country? Therefore I fled previously to Tarshish. For I know that you are a gracious and a merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. Therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live." You see, Jonah understood that if he went to Nineveh and preached, and they repented of their sins, that God was God of grace and mercy and loving kindness, and he would change his mind about destroying them. And that's exactly what happens. And all throughout the rest of the chapter, God is trying to get Jonah to understand his mercy and to develop his mercy for these people. But Jonah has more pity upon a dying plant than he does 120,000 dying people. You see, God has always been loving, merciful, and gracious. And the violence of the Old Testament is more about how just God is and about how horrible and terrible sin is. And it shows that we would rightly die in our sins without Christ. Tell me what you think about all this. Comment down below.